Hi, folks. Here we are again, Isla and Marelise. Um, as ever, we have our little chats that sometimes become longer chats than little chats before we ever get started. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to expand a little bit more on what we were talking about last week, which was the movie Adolescence and what both of us had taken away from that. And today we want to talk about the topic of addiction, screen addiction specifically. We all understand addiction in the framework of alcohol, drugs, being clearer about addiction with screens is a really, really important conversation for us to have. Because what we know is that this aspect of screen addiction is actually changing the brain and the brains of our children. And so, one, being aware of it, two, we don't have answers for you on how you're going to fix it or work with it. But I think just the awareness and the ability to go, is my child's need to constantly be on a screen, has that become an addictive piece? In which case, taking it away is never going to be the solution. We've got to go a lot deeper, and we've got to figure out other aspects of this fact of why has the addiction taken place in the first place. So, talking about this a little bit, I'm going to have Marelise help me here. And as we think about why would our kids become addicted to the screens, and the difference between a little kid that has become addicted that probably is not truly addiction versus an older child, a tween, a teen, where it truly has become such a source of dopamine that that child absolutely has to have it and suffers terribly when the screen is taken away.
Yes, thanks, Isla. As Isla said, we had a very good discussion before this. And what really is quite alarming is when you listen to the stories about the creators of social media, especially people who are at the helm of everything that is being developed and that has transpired over the years. Those people don't even allow their children to be on screens, and especially not to be on social media, which for me is just, I mean, how much more proof do you need that this is not conducive to any good habits that you can try and build into your child? When the people who are creating these algorithms, these addictions, are actually not allowing their own family to go there. So that to me is very telling. And from my point of view, especially with regard to younger children, the biggest piece of advice that I can give to someone, but it's more than advice. It's like I really want to urge you, don't allow your children to be on screens, especially not from an early age, because initially you're just creating a bad habit. It's like putting anything in front of them that you know is not good for them. You would not do that. You would not go and give a drug lolly to your child, to your 3-year-old or your 5-year-old. So why would you open this door to screen addiction, especially at that age when their brains don't even know what to do with it yet? The development hasn't taken place. They've proved over and over how bad this is for a child's brain. So, before we even start looking at ways in which you could possibly help or treat this or get them to move away from screens, it's as I say, prevention is always better than cure. Don't let them go there.
Yeah. But as we
Yeah.
were talking, I mean, we were kind of thinking back to um, when my kids were young, the reason that the screen is such an easy, I mean, it's not nothing easy, but such an obvious solution for us parents is that we're looking for the babysitter, right? We want to keep our kids safe. They're young. If they're in the house and they're sitting on the sofa in front of the television and we're in the kitchen, we know where they are. We know how to find them. We know that they are safe. So it has become such an easy solution to how to manage a situation that's very, very difficult for us, where we have to make dinner, we're going to work, we're trying to negotiate life with kids, especially little kids. So the babysitter becomes the television screen, or for, as in the case of my grandsons, they now have their own personal screens. They're not telephones, but they will be at some point. So I think that the first thing that is probably the most important for parents to really grasp is understanding the science behind what actually is happening in the brain. And I highly, ChatGPT is my best friend. And I think, if you have a real thing against artificial intelligence, I'm sorry that is my reality. But ChatGPT is my go-to for answers to a lot of my questions. And what I would do is I would get on ChatGPT and I would just ask the question, what age is your child? If you have a 4-year-old or a 14-year-old, ChatGPT to help me understand exactly what is happening in the brain of my child because of 8 hours a day on screen or 4 hours a day or whatever, and understand that science. And let me tell you, I had this weekend I was at a conference, and the CEO and creator of Delphi.ai, which is an AI-based tool that is now able to turn every book or into a coach for that's so you're able to get somebody like a Tony Robbins or Brendan Bouchard or a Bill Clinton or anybody that you want to learn from. All of their material, all the written material or speeches or anything is downloaded into one of these apps like Adelphi. Anyway, so he was speaking, and from when ChatGPT first was launched, which is, I think, November 2022, at that point, it had the capacity of a fourth grader. Today, it is beyond the capacity of a PhD student. So you are communicating with a technology that is truly able to help you understand pretty much any question that you want to ask and give you real data. Now, as ever, you check the data, before you publish it, if that's what you're looking for. But just know that the generative AI, what it is able to do is be able to perform at an above PhD level today. So being more aware of what's going on for your child, asking more questions, diving deep into what might be the solutions is going to be a tremendous help, just to be able to figure out what are the solutions that might work for my family that help me be able to better manage this screen time issue that I'm dealing with my child.
That's the thing. If you go and look at the source of whatever the problems are that you're finding, that is obviously where you want to go, not the outcomes of that. Or as you said earlier, Isla, look at the outcome you want to achieve and then backtrack and look, okay, how can I go about it to eventually get there? because it doesn't take one action now to ensure that that happens there. But the more you understand about that process, the more you know where to go look for it. And I didn't know about Delphi AI, so I'm definitely going to look that up. But yes, there's such a load of information available, and it can be very overwhelming and very daunting if you yourself want to go and look for possible solutions for this thing. To be able to use a tool that can really address your particular needs in any given situation is incredibly helpful, because the reality is that screens are causing an alarming amount of harm in homes every day. And if we understand it's because of its addictive nature, because of the way the algorithms have been created to really pinpoint any area in which your child can be sucked into this vortex where anything is possible. You're not gonna take your child and hand them to a stranger in the street and say, go do what you want to. No one's gonna do that. And yet you give them a screen where they have access to all the strangers on the street.
Mhm.
So, when you start thinking about it that way, it really becomes very clear that we need to rethink our simple go-tos, or, well, everyone's doing that, so it should be okay. No, it's not. That's why kids are struggling with problems that never existed before, problems that are overtaking their lives and causing them to do all sorts of grievous harm. So we want to encourage you to not be overwhelmed by the state of affairs, but take simple little steps to see what your options really are, because there are options, but it might look a little bit different for everybody. So use a tool that is available to you to go and get the information that you need so that you can make wiser decisions, because then you don't have to struggle with even bigger problems down the line. The moment you see something, identify it and go and look for a good solution. Don't think, oh, I'll sort it out tomorrow, next week, or next year. It's never going to happen. Now is the time. Sorry, I had to go there.
Yeah, no, it is overwhelming. I think both of us would be very, very, very quick to agree, admit, and it's so hard when you're doing the best you can to navigate life, and life includes your children. And that's, I think I've said this before on this channel, that when the Surgeon General put out his advisory for parents in November of last year, it was because the data that was coming back was saying that 48% of parents are so overwhelmed that they feel that they basically cannot function anymore. So versus 28% in the population that are not parents. So you know, as a parent, that you are in a uniquely stressful, difficult situation. And not to, it's important you don't feel alone. It's important that you look around you for help, for information, that you build your own community of people that can help you. And this situation that we're in with our kids right now is very, very worrying, because the mental health data for our children is equally enormously worrisome in terms of the numbers. So we need to first of all become aware, and then second, kind of decide, okay, here's a strategy that I could put in place. Just one step at a time. I'm going to do this because I realize and recognize the damage that it's going to do to my children. And I think that's all that we can do. We don't have any answers. We wish we did. If we did, they would be all over the internet, the answers. None of us,
Mm, mm,
but
mm,
it's about for every family figuring out what can you do that is going to protect
mm,
and take care of the health and well-being of your children.
mm. Thank you, Isla. That is very necessary. And I think it might be a good idea to just post the two links down below this video so that
Mm.
it's easy for you to go and just explore for yourself. Take 5 minutes and just go and click on them and type in whatever comes to mind to you, whatever is the particulars of your situation are, and just see what you get. You've got nothing to lose. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get some very, very valuable ideas. The time is now. It's not too late yet, but we need to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and with that one, we will leave you for today.
Okay. Thank you. It was lovely to see you again. And it's so good to discuss these things. We wish you all a fantastic week.
Thank you.